If you want to learn how to raise your standards for yourself and from others, then this is going to be the video for you. If you're new here, my name is Ladette, and in this channel we talk about anything and everything that has to do with health and wellness, simple lifestyle changes that you can, incorporate into your daily routine or your weekly routine so that you can feel like a happier, healthier version of yourself. We talk about personal development, self-development, and growth, and all of that. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then definitely hit the subscribe button for more videos. So first thing is first, and I have my notes for you guys. I tried to make it as simple as possible. I have 6 pretty specific things that you can do to raise the standards that you have for yourself and the standards that you have when it comes to your job, how people treat you, all of it. All of it translates. So number 1 is to know your why. I know that I talk about that pretty often. I've mentioned it in other videos as well, but knowing your why and anything that you do is the number 1 thing. Because without having a solid foundation of knowing what your reasoning is behind your goals, it's not gonna sustain and it's not gonna last. And that's what makes people spiral. That's what makes people, stop their goals. That's what makes people feel even worse about themselves than when they started, because now they feel guilty and like they can't keep promises to themselves. So know your why from the get-go. Why do you wanna raise your standards of yourself? Or why do you wanna raise your standards in your relationship or in your job? Why is that important to you, and what's the outcome that you're looking for? Do you want to feel better about yourself? Do you want to feel more confident? Do you want to feel like people respect you? Do you want to feel like you're being paid what you deserve? Like whatever it is, right? Know your standards, but know your why. Why is that important to you? Okay? The other thing is to assess where you are, and this is overlooked, because it's one thing to want to raise your standards and it's one thing to know what your vision is and know what your goals are, but first you have to assess where you're at and why you're there. So if you feel like, people don't respect you, if you feel like people don't show up for you the way that you show up for them, if you feel like you're just not even showing up for yourself, assess why that is. Why do you think you're in the position that you are in? What have you allowed? What have you even maybe encouraged without realizing that that's what you're doing? Because where you're at right now when it comes to the relationship that you have with yourself or with other people is a result of something that you either said or did or what you allowed. And that might be a hard pill to swallow, and I don't want to necessarily upset anyone, but it's the truth. You have to know, you have to realize what your truth is. It obviously looks different for everyone, but I can guarantee that if you can be honest with yourself and assess where you're at and see, what you did on your part to be in a place where you're at now, where you're not feeling really happy with the standards that you have, partly it has to do with, your own actions, whether you subconscious or conscious, right? And honestly, I can relate to this because there have been many instances in my life where I was just allowing the worst type of people into my life, but I allowed that. People that I was talking to, men that I was entertaining, I allowed it because I didn't love myself enough to know that I shouldn't be pouring or giving this energy to someone who very, very, very clearly did not deserve to have my energy. Time and time again, multiple different people. So it's important to be honest with yourself, create that safe space for yourself where you can be real with yourself, because that is what's gonna make you feel empowered and liberated to take your power back and to truly show up for yourself and know your worth and just do right by yourself, okay? So that was number 2, is assess where you're at, be honest with yourself. Number 3 was being honest with yourself, my bad. Number 2 was assess where you're at. Number 3 was be honest with yourself. So number 4 is identify what you need to do to change. So if you're feeling like, okay, I don't really show up for myself, like I tell myself that I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and I don't do it, then what do you need to do it? Right? So if you're someone who is constantly like, I just want to improve, my health, like I feel like I don't take care of my body. And so maybe having high standards for you is, okay, I'm going to be intentional about what food I buy at the grocery store so that I can prep better for myself throughout the week. Boom, you've identified the change. If maybe you raising your standards of others is that, you will no longer allow men into your life or women into your life who, give you less than what you deserve. Maybe it's a person who doesn't even text you in the morning. You're always the one who's texting them in the morning and you feel like it's not reciprocated. So maybe you having your high standard is, I'm not going to send this message anymore in the morning. I'm going to communicate this with this person, and if they really want to be in my life, then they need to know that, you know, it's a two-way street. Like, I need to see them putting more effort into this relationship. I need to see them putting more energy into, you know, wanting to talk to me, because it's a privilege. Your energy is a privilege to have and to be around. So be that person. So maybe that's the change that you need to seek. So obviously this is different for all of us, but identify the change, because ultimately only you know what you actually specifically need to do to improve your situation, right? So identify that change and stick with it, right? Be real with yourself. Stick with it, because if you don't implement the changes that you're looking for, your situation will never change, and you're gonna always be stuck in this place where you feel like you don't even know your own worth, and because you don't know your worth, other people don't know your worth, and then everyone just doesn't know your worth, and then you're just stuck. So be honest with yourself and really do things out of that love for yourself, right? Because you have to remember that you don't have to do anything. You get to do these things. So showing up for yourself, you get to do that. Loving yourself, you get to do that. Having high standards because you know what you deserve, you get to do that. It's a privilege to do that. So honor yourself in that way. Step number 5 is to set yourself up to make things happen. You know, it's one thing to say, okay, I want to have high standards and I'm going to be that girl, you know, or I'm going to be that man, and everything's going to change and I'm going to become who I want to become. You can say that, but if you don't actually set yourself up for that, it's going to be difficult for you to raise your standard, and it's going to be difficult for other people to match that standard for you. So you have to think about what in your environment you need to change to level up. And to be honest, this can be broken down into many different ways, but there's so many areas in your life that you can show yourself that you're going to show up for yourself, if that makes sense. So whether your standard is to show up for you, or whether you raising your standard is because other people need to meet you where you're at, you have to be taking care of your health. You have to be taking care of your mind. You have to be taking care of your emotional well-being. You have to be putting good food into your body. So you can't just be, for example, eating watching Netflix, Ubering, you know, doing Uber Eats every single weekend, talking about, I'm gonna raise my standards and I'm gonna expect other people to treat me the way I deserve. If you're not taking care of your well-being, how is anyone going to match that standard? And how are you gonna even take your own self seriously, right? Like, if you want to have high standards of yourself, you need to take care of yourself. So maybe it's going on a walk, you know, maybe it is going to the gym and lifting weights. This looks different for everyone. You don't have to always physically go to the gym. Like I said, go for a walk, right? But show up for yourself. What ways are you going to show up for your physical well-being? What ways are you going to show up for your mind, you know? When you're having a bad day, when you're feeling stressed, when you're worried, are you gonna keep feeling worried and stressed and have a bad day? Or are you gonna go meditate? Or are you gonna go journal? Or are you gonna go outside and just look at the trees and embrace nature and let yourself feel better, right? When you wanna raise your standards, you don't just raise it by saying you're gonna raise it. You have to internally raise your standards, essentially. So take care of your mind. Food. How are you going to raise your standards but have Uber Eats all the time? How are you going to raise your standards of yourself eating junk food all the time, eating fast food all the time? It doesn't work that way. Even if your goal is to have higher standards for yourself and it has nothing to do with other people, how are you going to truly show up for yourself and love yourself and know your full worth and your full potential when you don't take care of your body, and when you don't take care of your mind, when you don't take care of your emotional well-being, your environment, right? If you work from home, for example, what does your area look like? Do you have a bunch of stuff everywhere? Is it clean? Does it feel cluttered? Like, well, what does your surroundings look like? Do you have food in your bedroom? Do you have Tupperware in there that you haven't washed in a couple days? Like, be so for real with yourself, you know? to raise your standards and to expect other people to match you where you're at and to treat you the way you deserve to be treated, you first need to treat yourself the way you need to be treated. You first need to show up for you. And by naturally showing up for yourself, you're gonna really tap into that self-worth, and you're really gonna tap into the value that you have of yourself, and other people will match it. And if they're unable to match it, guess what? When you have high standards and other people don't meet them, bye. Bye-bye. It becomes easier for you to let go of certain people, let go of certain events in your life, certain situations, because you know your worth. When you inherently know your worth, it's not easy for you to cut ties because you know your worth. And so showing up for yourself will allow you to do that. So if you're saying I want to have high standards, the best place to start after knowing your why is really doing like that evaluation of self and seeing, how am I taking care of myself right now? How am I showing up for myself? What other ways can I improve, the way I show up for myself and how I treat myself and how I talk to myself and care for myself? Because that's room for improvement for all of us, for me even, right? No one here is perfect. But one thing that I'll tell you is that when you show up for yourself every day, you really know who the fuck you are. You really do. And you know who and what is worth your time and what is not. And you will remove people, you will remove yourself when you are in a position that it's no longer serving you. And that will not be a problem for you, okay? So set yourself up. And then the last thing that I have to say is funny because it's actually the first thing that I said, but it's to remember your why. If your intention here and your goal here is, I want to raise my standards, but then you don't remind yourself that, how are you going to raise your standard, right? If you're like, okay, so I know that I need to be improving, what I'm eating, because that is a part of the process of raising my standards, but then you just forget about it the next day, how is anything going to change? Be intentional, every day when you wake up in the morning or in the evening, if you work like a graveyard shift, be so intentional first thing in the morning. Like within the first 10 minutes of you actually waking up, there needs to be somewhere within that where you have at least 1 minute where you're either writing down your intention for the day or where you're at least speaking it out loud, or at least meditating on it. What's your intention for the day? You can tell yourself, my intention today is to show up for myself in the best way I possibly can. Even that alone, even being mindful of that alone and doing it every day, is in the back of your mind. It's hard to forget when you remind yourself of your goals, right? Make it obvious and make it visible. And you can even write on a little sticky note, put it on your computer. You can write your intention, in your planner. You can write it on a mirror. It can be the same intention. So you can really spend like 5 minutes being thoughtful about what your actual intention is. Put it on a sticky note and put that same sticky note where you're gonna see it every day. That way, when you wake up, you just look at it for a couple minutes, remind yourself your promises to yourself, and be real with yourself, right? And that way, you'll help yourself hold your own self accountable to what you're really gonna do and how you're really gonna move forward to have those high standards of yourself. And so some affirmations that I want to give you, because affirmations are a huge deal, the way that you talk to yourself, the positivity that you're speaking, it does, become your reality. And I want to give you guys something tangible, because I know in this video, I kind of described some of these steps, but I do realize that sometimes you just need something physical or something to just actually take with you. So I have these affirmations. I'm also going to have it written in the description so you can copy that and paste it into your own phone and in your notes, or you can take a screenshot and you can look at that every single day. But some affirmations that I wrote down that I wanted to give you guys. Number 1 is, I know my worth. Tell yourself that every day. I know my worth. The other one, I attract people and opportunities that reflect my worth. So not only do you know your worth, now you're attracting people who know your worth. Right? You're attracting people who can match your energy and meet your energy where you're at. So say that affirmation. The third one, today and for the rest of my life, I choose to step into my power. Tell me that don't feel good. Today and for the rest of my life, I choose to step into my power. Because guess what? Stepping into your power, that's your choice. That's no one else's choice. And that's no one can take that from you. You can step into your power if you allow yourself to step into your power. So tell yourself that every day and remind yourself that. Because when you tell yourself, I'm in the morning when you wake up or in the evening, whenever you start your day, if you're being intentional first thing in those 10 minutes and you tell yourself, today I'm going to step into my power, guess what? You're gonna step into your power. Are you gonna do it every day? We're not all perfect. Sometimes I react, to a situation where if I was really in my power in that moment, I would not have reacted. But guess what? It starts with developing self-awareness. When you have self-awareness, you can choose better next time. So remind yourself that I choose into my power today. I choose to step into my power. I choose to step into my power, and you will. I believe in you. The next affirmation is, my self-love radiates into the world. I just love this one. My self-love radiates into the world, because guess what? When you love yourself and you know your worth and you step into your power, that spills into the world and other people see it. Sure, it may make some people feel uncomfortable, especially people who don't quite love themselves yet. But when you love yourself, guess what? For the most part, you're gonna inspire people around you. So when you learn how to love yourself and when you learn how to show up for yourself, you're gonna teach other people how to do that without you even realizing that you're teaching them that. And how beautiful is that? Because like you, like me, like many people we know, a lot of us have struggled with our self-worth. A lot of us have allowed a lot of events to happen into our lives that we did not deserve, but it happened to us. And so we've been there. Many of us can relate to each other. We've been in places where we were not happy, and we've been in places where we were upset with ourselves and where it didn't feel good to be in that situation, right? But when you can learn to show up and love yourself and step into your power, you're gonna remind other people, oh my God, I can do the same. Yes, I've been through some shit, but I don't have to be in it anymore. I can choose better for myself right now. So do that for yourself. And the ripple effect of that is you're gonna help other people do the same. And like, that's such a good feeling. Like when I think about that, truly, it's such a good feeling, because I'm like, wow, when I love myself and show up for myself, it makes me feel good. And I don't ever even realize this until people DM me on Instagram and whatnot, or my friends tell me in real life, like, Lynette, you've inspired me to start juicing now. You've inspired me to really like love myself. You've inspired me to tell this person that, you know what, let's just break things off because we're not right for each other. And I don't even mean to do that. But when people tell me that, I'm like, holy shit. As a result of me loving myself and me showing up for myself, I guess other people are noticing that, and that makes me feel good because I want other people to love themselves too. And so you're gonna notice that, like, it's not only you showing up for you, it's you showing up for the people around you by doing that. And if that's not powerful, like, I literally don't know what is. And I think that is the last affirmation that I have for you guys. I really hope that this video was valuable. I hope something resonates with you and you're able to take away something that's gonna help you show up for yourself in the best and most loving way possible. And if this was helpful, I do have another video that I think you might be interested in. And it is all about, where to start on your wellness journey. It gives you 7 tips on how you can start your wellness journey. So if raising your standards, if one of the things when it comes to raising your standards has to do with improving your overall well-being, check out that video. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.